Please subscribe to the channel, like this video, share your thoughts in the comments below. The accusation. A waitress falsely accused. "You're a thief!" the manager screamed, shaking a wad of bills in front of Sarah's face. "This was in your locker!" "I didn't steal anything," Sarah retorted, keeping her voice steady even as her hands trembled. "Someone put that money there." The restaurant fell silent. Waiters stopped serving. Cooks poked their heads out from the kitchen, and all the customers turned to watch the spectacle. Sarah felt as if the entire world were judging her. Oh, really? And who would do that? Ricardo, the manager, sneered. "Ghosts? I don't know, but it wasn't me. Look, Sarah, you've had enough chances. First, you were late twice this week. Then there were complaints about you at table 5, and now this. I can't defend you anymore." "Defend me?" Sarah's voice rose. "You've never defended me. You always look for excuses to make me look bad." Ricardo smiled maliciously. "Well, it won't be my problem anymore. You're fired. Pack your things and get out." Murmurs began to rise among the customers. Sarah heard fragments of conversations. What a shame. Poor thing. She probably did steal it. Every word was like a stab. "Give me my paycheck for this week," Sarah demanded, trying to maintain her dignity. "Your paycheck?" Ricardo laughed. "After what you stole, you should be paying me." "I didn't steal anything, and you know it. Prove it." Sarah clenched her fists. She knew it was useless to argue. In this place, the manager's word was worth more than the truth. She headed towards her locker, aware that all eyes were following her. James Miller looked up from his plate. He had come for a quiet lunch, but now all his attention was on the young waitress. Something about her walk, how she held her head high despite the humiliation, caught his eye. "Are you going to do something or just stand there and watch?" Ricardo asked the other employees. "Get back to work." Sarah returned with her bag slung over her shoulder. She had packed her few belongings, a sweater, a water bottle, and the photo of her mother she always kept in her locker. "I hope someday you realize what you've done," she said to Ricardo, looking him straight in the eyes. "The only thing I did was fire a thief before she could steal more from me." James watched as Sarah bit her lower lip. For a moment, he thought she would explode, scream, or cry, but she didn't. She just took a deep breath and headed for the door. "And don't bother applying for another job here," Ricardo yelled at her back. "I'll tell every restaurant in the area what you did." Sarah paused at the door. James saw her shoulders tense, but she didn't turn around. She walked out of the restaurant, and the rain met her like a cold slap. James left money on the table and stood up. He didn't know why, but something compelled him to follow her. He walked out of the restaurant and saw her walking in the rain, without an umbrella, getting completely soaked. He followed her at a discreet distance. Sarah reached the bus stop and sat on the small metal bench. There, finally, she allowed herself to cry. James watched her from the corner, feeling strange about spying, but unable to leave. They weren't tears of self-pity. They were tears of rage, frustration, helplessness. Sarah knew she needed that job, that her mother depended on her, that she had no savings to survive a month without income. The bus arrived, and Sarah got on. James ran to his car and followed, keeping his distance. He wanted to know where she lived. He wanted, what? To help her? To apologize for what he had witnessed? The bus stopped in a humble neighborhood. Sarah got off and walked a few blocks to a small, faded blue house. James parked on the corner and watched her go inside. He stayed there for a few minutes, wondering what to do. Finally, he started his car and drove away, but taking with him the image of that woman who had maintained her dignity, even in the worst moment. The next day, James couldn't get her out of his head. There was something about her that bothered him, that made him question things he had never questioned. He decided he had to do something. James arrived in Sarah's neighborhood in his black BMW, feeling completely out of place. The streets were full of potholes, clothes hung from balconies, and children played football in the street. Some people looked at him with curiosity when he got out of the car. He found the faded blue house and knocked on the door. He waited a few seconds until Sarah opened it. Her expression changed immediately when she saw him. "What are you doing here?" she asked, crossing her arms. "I need to talk to you." "I have nothing to talk to you about. I don't even know you." James realized she was right. They hadn't formally introduced themselves. "I'm James Miller. I was at the restaurant yesterday when you were fired." "And?" Sarah didn't move a muscle. "Did you come to mock me too?" "No. I came to offer you help." Sarah laughed bitterly. "Help? What kind of help?" "I can help you sue the restaurant. What they did to you was unfair." "Sure, because rich people always help the poor, right?" Sarah narrowed her eyes. "What do you really want?" James felt uncomfortable. He hadn't expected such hostility. "I just want to do the right thing." "The right thing?" Sarah stepped out of the house and closed the door behind her. "Where was the right thing yesterday when they humiliated me in front of everyone? Why didn't you say anything then?" "You're right. I should have done something at the moment." "Exactly. But you didn't. And now you come here to clear your conscience." James felt the conversation slipping from his hands. "It's not that. I know you didn't steal that money." "How do you know?" "Because I saw how you behaved. I saw your dignity." Sarah looked at him suspiciously. "And what does that matter? I already lost my job. That's why I want to help you. I know lawyers. Can I—" "You know lawyers?" Sarah laughed. "Of course, you probably have many important contacts." James didn't respond. The truth was he did have contacts, but he didn't know how to say it without sounding presumptuous. "Tell me something," Sarah continued. "How do you have so much money? What do you do?" James hesitated. He knew that if he told her the truth, everything would become more complicated. "I work in business." "Business?" Sarah narrowed her eyes. "What kind of business?" "My family has a company." "What kind of company?" James took a deep breath. There was no point in lying anymore. "Restaurants. We own a chain of restaurants." Sarah fell silent for a few seconds, processing the information. "Restaurants? What's the name of the company?" "Miller Group." Sarah turned pale. James saw her expression change from suspicion to shock, and then to fury. "Miller Group?" she repeated. "The restaurant where I worked belongs to your family?" "Yes." "You're the owner's son!" Sarah shouted. "I can't believe it!" James tried to calm her down. "That's why I want to help you. I know my family." "Your family!" Sarah was furious. "Your family humiliated me and took away my job." "I didn't know anything about what happened until I saw it. And why should I believe you? Because it's the truth. My father manages the restaurants. I work, in administration." "Your father?" Sarah laughed bitterly. "He probably trains his managers to treat employees like that." James couldn't deny it. He knew his father had a reputation for being tough on employees. "My father and I don't agree on many things." "Like what?" "Like the way he treats employees. I want to change things." "Change things?" Sarah scoffed. "Why didn't you start yesterday then?" Because it's complicated." "No, it's not complicated. It's simple. You have power, and you don't use it." James felt cornered. "You're right. But now I want to use it to help you." "I don't want your help," Sarah said firmly. "I don't want anything from your family." "Sarah, please, no. Get out of here, and don't come back." Sarah turned to go back inside the house, but James stopped her. "Can you at least tell me your full name?" "What for?" "To know how to help you." "I already told you I don't want your help." "Sarah, please let me try." "Sarah Jenkins, but I don't want to see you again." She went into the house and slammed the door shut. James stood on the street, feeling completely rejected, but more determined than ever. What a dramatic confrontation. Do you think Sarah will ever trust James? How do you think James will try to help her now? Leave your comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe. A Son's Crusade. Uncovering the truth, James stormed into his father's office. Arthur Miller was reviewing financial reports when his son burst in without knocking. "We need to talk about the downtown restaurant," James said, closing the door behind him. "Good morning to you too, son," Arthur replied without looking up. "What about that restaurant?" An employee was unfairly fired. They accused her of stealing without proof. Arthur finally looked up. "And? Managers have the authority to fire problematic employees. She wasn't problematic, she was framed." "James, don't tell me you're here to defend a waitress." "I'm here to defend justice," Arthur laughed. "Justice? Son, this is a business, not a charity. A business that mistreats its employees isn't sustainable in the long run. Our numbers say otherwise. We have the highest profits in 5 years." James walked to the desk. "At what cost? At the cost of humiliating innocent people? At the cost of maintaining discipline and order." Arthur stood up. "Something you should learn. I don't want to learn to be cruel. It's not cruelty, it's leadership. But of course, you've always been too soft for this business." James felt the familiar pang of frustration his father always gave him. "I want you to reinstate Sarah Jenkins." "Who?" "The employee who was fired yesterday." Arthur laughed louder. "Sarah Jenkins? So that's the one who's got you so worked up." "She hasn't got me worked up. I just want justice to be done." "Son, that last name sounds familiar." Arthur frowned. "Jenkins, you said." James saw something strange in his father's expression, but couldn't decipher what it was. "Yes, Jenkins, why?" "No reason. And no, I'm not reinstating her. If Ricardo fired her, he had his reasons. Even if it was unfair, life is unfair, James. The sooner you learn that, the better." James left the office more determined than ever. That afternoon, he met with Robert, the company's chief accountant, and Maria, the human resources supervisor. Both were trusted employees who had worked for the family for years. "I need your help with something," James told them in a small coffee shop far from the office. "I want to review the employment practices of our restaurants." Robert and Maria looked at each other. "What kind of review?" Maria asked. "I want to know if there are patterns of abuse, unjust dismissals, workplace harassment, and discrimination." "James," Robert interjected, "that could get you into trouble with your father." "My father doesn't have to know about it for now." "Are you sure about this?" Maria asked. "Do you know what Mr. Miller is like when he feels betrayed?" "It's not betrayal. It's improving the company." The three worked for days, reviewing files, discreetly interviewing current and former employees. What they found was worse than James had imagined. There were clear patterns of abuse, unjust dismissals, workplace harassment, and discrimination, all with Arthur's silent blessing. "Your father knows all this," Robert told him one afternoon. "He's even given specific orders for some dismissals, including Sarah's. And manager Ricardo receives extra bonuses for keeping payroll low." James felt sick to his stomach. His family had built an empire on the misery of others. That night, he decided to organize a charity event for a local foundation. It was a way to start changing the company's image, and also an excuse to hire Sarah as a temporary assistant. He asked Maria to contact her, tell her it's well-paid temporary work, and that it has nothing directly to do with me. Sarah accepted out of financial necessity, though she was suspicious when she learned it was for a Miller Group event. On the day of the event, James was nervous. He had invited businessmen, politicians, and media. He wanted to show that the company could change. Sarah arrived early, dressed in a simple but elegant suit. James saw her directing the waiters, organizing the tables, ensuring everything was perfect. She was a natural leader. Halfway through the event, Arthur arrived unannounced. James saw him enter and felt his blood run cold. "What is all this?" Arthur asked, approaching his son. "A charity event. I told you I wanted to do things differently." "Differently?" Arthur looked around. "Throwing money at charity? Improving our public image? Our image is fine. What needs improving is your brain." Some guests began to notice the tension between father and son. Sarah, from her position coordinating the service, also watched them. "James, I'm tired of your nonsense," Arthur said, raising his voice. "Either you start behaving like a businessman, or I'll find another heir. Dad, we're in public. I don't care. You constantly embarrass me with your ridiculous ideas." Sarah watched as James recoiled, how his father humiliated him in front of everyone. For the first time, she felt something akin to compassion for him. "You have a week to decide," Arthur continued. "Either you straighten up, or I cut you off from the company." Arthur left, leaving James standing in the middle of the room, with all the guests looking at him. Sarah watched how he tried to compose himself, how he forced a smile, and continued with the event, as if nothing had happened. At that moment, Sarah understood something. James was also a victim of his family. After the event, James stayed to help clean up. Most of the guests had left, and only he, Sarah, and a few catering staff remained. James quietly stacked chairs, still embarrassed by the scene his father had created. "You didn't have to stay," Sarah told him, folding tablecloths. "It's very late. I want to help. Besides, I'm not in a hurry to go home." Sarah looked at him sideways. There was something different about him since the public humiliation. He seemed more human. "Your dad was very hard on you." James paused. "That's how he always is. Nothing I do seems good enough for him." "Why do you keep working with him?" "Because he's my family. And because I want to change things from the inside." "Do you really think you can change him?" James sighed. "I don't know, but I have to try." Sarah continued working without responding. There was something in the way James spoke that made her feel that perhaps she had judged him wrongly. "Do you want me to drive you home?" James asked when they finished. "It's too late for you to take the bus." "No, thank you. I can go alone." "No. Sarah, it's 2 a.m. It's not safe. I've taken buses at this hour many times. I can take care of myself." James didn't insist, but he discreetly followed her until he was sure she got home safely. This is a pivotal moment. Will James's genuine desire to do good finally break through Sarah's walls? What do you think will happen next? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Unforeseen connections and a reckoning. The next day, Sarah woke up to a call from her mother. "Honey, an ambulance came. They said someone paid for me to be taken to the private hospital for my tests." "What? Who?" "I don't know. They said it was an anonymous benefactor." "Sarah, these tests cost thousands of pounds." Sarah frowned. Only one person knew about her mother's health condition, because she had had to ask permission from previous jobs to take her to the doctor. That afternoon, she went to find James at the Miller Group offices. "Was it you?" she asked directly when she found him in the parking lot. "Me what?" "My mom's tests. Was it you who paid for them?" James looked nervous. "I don't know what you're talking about." "James, don't lie to me." "Okay, yes, but I didn't want you to know." "Why did you do that?" "Because your mom needs medical attention, and you don't have money to pay for it." "You have no right to meddle in my life like that!" "You're right, but it's already done. The tests could detect something important." Sarah was silent. On one hand, she was annoyed by the intrusion. On the other, she knew James was right about the importance of the tests. "Why? Why do you want to help? Help, or feel better about yourself?" James seriously considered the question. "Maybe a little of both, but primarily because I believe it's the right thing to do. And what if I accept your help? What do you want in return?" "Nothing. Just for you to give me a chance to prove I'm not like my father." Sarah studied him. There was something sincere in his eyes. "Okay, but with conditions." "What conditions?" "First, no more surprises. If you want to help, you ask me first." "Agreed." "Agreed. Second, this doesn't mean we're friends. It just means I don't completely hate you." James smiled for the first time in days. Fair enough. Over the next few weeks, James and Sarah began to have longer conversations. He told her about his plans to reform the company. She told him about her dreams of opening her own restaurant someday. "Why a restaurant? James asked one afternoon while they had coffee near Sarah's house. Because my grandmother had a small diner. It was the happiest place in the world. People went there not just to eat, but to feel like family. What happened to the diner? My grandmother passed away when I was 12. My grandfather couldn't keep it going alone. James saw a deep sadness in Sarah's eyes. What was your grandmother like? The strongest woman I've ever known. She lost 3 children, but never lost faith. She always said that food made with love can heal any sorrow. She sounds like an incredible woman. She was. That's why I want to have my own place someday, to honor her memory. James became thoughtful. You know what? I think your grandmother and I would have gotten along. Why do you say that? Because she believed in doing things with love. I'm trying to learn to do that. Sarah looked at him with curiosity. Learn? Yes. My family never taught me to do anything with love. They only taught me how to make money. And now you want to change. Yes, but I don't know if it's too late. It's never too late, Sarah said. My grandmother used to say that too. For the first time, James felt that perhaps there was hope for him. A week later, as Sarah organized her mother's things for another medical appointment, she found an old box under the bed. Inside were letters, documents, and photographs she hadn't seen in years. Among the papers, she found a letter that sent a chill down her spine. It was from a lawyer, dated 15 years ago, addressed to her mother. The letter talked about the forced closure of their small family business and mentioned Arthur Miller's name several times. Sarah read the letter twice before fully understanding what it meant. Her mother had owned a small food stall in the Central Market. Arthur Miller had bought the land and had evicted all the small vendors, including her mother. "Mom!" Sarah called out. "What's this?" Her mother came out of the kitchen, wiping her hands with a cloth. "What did you find, honey?" "This letter about the market stall." Her mother's face darkened. "Where was that?" "In the box under your bed." "Mom, why did you never tell me that the Millers took our business away?" Her mother sat heavily on the bed. "Because it's in the past, child. I didn't want you to carry that resentment." "Resentment? Mom, they destroyed our future." "Sarah, calm down." "Calm down? Do you know who I've been talking to lately? Who I've been kind to?" Her mother looked at her with confusion. "What are you talking about?" "James Miller, Arthur's son. The one who paid for your medical tests." Her mother turned pale. "Miller, are you sure?" "Completely sure. And I, like an idiot, thought he was different from his family." Sarah stormed out of the house like a hurricane. She needed to confront James immediately. She found him at a coffee shop near the Miller Group offices. "Did you know?" she asked without greeting him, sitting across from him. "Know what?" "About my mom. About what your dad did to her 15 years ago." James frowned. "I don't know what you're talking about." Sarah pulled out the letter and placed it on the table. "Read it." James read the document, and his expression gradually changed from confusion to horror. "Sarah, I didn't know anything about this." "Really? Your dad never told you how he built his empire?" "He told me he had bought land to expand the business, but he never gave me details. The details are that he destroyed the lives of many families, including mine." James ran his hands through his hair. "Your mom had a business?" "A food stall was all we had. After your dad took it from us, we could never recover." "Sarah, I was 12 years old when this happened. I didn't know anything, but now you know, and now you understand why your help feels like a mockery." James was silent, processing the information. "What do you want me to do?" "I want you to tell me the truth. How many more families did your dad destroy?" "I don't know, but I'm going to find out." "What for? To feel better? To do something about it?" Sarah stood up from the table. "It's too late to do anything. The damage is already done." "Sarah, wait." "No. I don't want to know anything about you or your family anymore." James remained seated, watching Sarah walk away. He knew he had to do something drastic. What a revelation. How will James react to this painful truth about his family's past? What drastic action do you think he'll take? Share your theories in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe. A son's justice and a new beginning. That night, James broke into his father's office and reviewed all the files he could find. What he discovered was worse than he had imagined. There was an entire folder of forced acquisitions. Dozens of small businesses had been shut down or bought for ridiculous prices. Many families had lost their livelihoods. Among the documents, he found his own mother's file. The stall had been valued at $50,000, but Arthur had paid barely $50,000. He had used legal pressure tactics to force the sale. James photographed all the documents with his phone. He had evidence of years of abuse and illegal practices. The next day, he went to Sarah's house. "I don't want to see you," she said from the doorway. "I have something to show you." "I'm not interested." "Sarah, I found documents about your mom and about many other families." Sarah hesitated. "What kind of documents?" James showed her the photographs on his phone. "Evidence of everything my dad did. Fraudulent contracts, legal pressure, bribes to officials." Sarah reviewed the images, and her expression changed from anger to surprise. "Where did you find this?" "In my dad's office." "Sarah, there's enough evidence to put him in prison. And what do you plan to do?" "Hand him over to the authorities and find all the affected families to compensate them." "Why would you do that? He's your dad." "Because it's wrong, and because you were right about my family." Sarah was silent, studying James. "Do you know what this means? If you do this, your dad will disinherit you. He already threatened me with that. Maybe it's for the best." "James, think it through. You're throwing your life away." "No, I'm starting to truly live." Sarah felt something she hadn't felt before. Genuine respect for James, but also fear of what might happen. James didn't sleep all night. He had placed the documents on his table and read them over and over, trying to find some justification for his father's actions. He found none. At 6 in the morning, he made a decision. He called Robert, the accountant. "I need you to come to my apartment. It's urgent." "What's wrong, James?" "I found something serious." Robert arrived an hour later and reviewed the documents carefully. "James, this is pure dynamite. If this comes to light, your dad not only loses the company, he goes to prison. Do you think it's enough evidence?" "More than enough. There's fraud, extortion, bribery here. This is a bombshell." James nodded. "I want you to contact all trusted employees. I need to know who is willing to testify." "Are you sure about this?" "Once you start, there's no going back." "I'm sure." Meanwhile, Sarah had started working at another restaurant, but she couldn't stop thinking about James. She had seen something in his eyes when he showed her the documents. Real determination, not just empty words. That afternoon, James found her at the new restaurant. "Can we talk?" "I'm working." "It's important." Sarah looked at her boss, who nodded, giving her permission to take a break. "You have 5 minutes." "I'm going to do it," James told her when they stepped outside. "I'm going to hand over the documents." "When?" "This week, but first I want to compensate your family." "How?" "My mom doesn't want charity." "It's not charity. It's justice. It's her money." "And then what? Do you think money fixes everything?" "No, but it's a first step." Sarah looked at him intently. "Do you know what's going to happen when you do this? Your dad is going to destroy you." "He's already destroying me. At least this way it'll be for a good cause. And what are you going to do afterwards? How will you live?" "I don't know, but I'll find a way." Sarah felt something strange in her chest. For the first time, she completely believed James. "There's something else I need to tell you," James continued. "I hired a private investigator. He found other families that were affected. There are more than 50 small businesses." 50? "Yes, and I want to contact all of them. I want them to know they have a right to compensation." "James, that's going to cost millions. I have shares in the company. I can sell them." "You're going to sell your shares?" "Yes, it's the least I can do." Sarah was silent. She had never met anyone willing to sacrifice so much to do the right thing. "Do you need help?" "What?" "To contact the families, to organize everything. Do you need help? James looked at her, surprised. Would you do that? Yes, I was, but with one condition. What? That you don't do this for me. That you do it because it's the right thing to do. I'm doing it for both reasons. The following days were intense. James and Sarah worked together, contacting the affected families, organizing meetings, explaining the situation. Many families had lost everything. Some had emigrated to other countries seeking opportunities. Others had fallen into extreme poverty. It's worse than I thought, James told Sarah after a particularly difficult meeting. That family lost their home after their business closed. Now do you understand why I was so angry with you? Yes, and I understand why my dad never told me the truth about how he built the empire. Are you scared? Very much, but I also feel something I've never felt. Peace. For the first time in my life, I know I'm doing the right thing. Sarah looked at him with an expression James couldn't decipher. What's wrong? Nothing. Just that I think your grandmother would have been proud of you. My grandmother? Sorry, I meant mine. She always said that the most important thing isn't where you come from, but where you're going. Do you think I'm going in the right direction? Yes, I think for the first time in your life, you're going in the right direction. That night, James made another important call. Mr. Davies, this is James Miller. I have information about illegal activities at Miller Group. Can we meet tomorrow? Are you sure, Mr. Miller? Completely sure. All right. But I want to warn you that once you present this information, you won't be able to withdraw it. I understand. See you tomorrow. James hung up the phone and looked out the window. He knew that the next day his life would change forever. But for the first time, he wasn't afraid of the future. The tension is incredibly high. What will be the immediate fallout of James's decision? And how will this impact his and Sarah's future? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Justice served and new horizons. James arrived at Mr. Davies' office with a box full of documents. He had spent the early hours organizing all the evidence, making sure it was complete and well presented. This is going to take hours to review, the lawyer said after seeing the quantity of papers. Are you sure you want to go ahead? Completely sure. You understand this could result in criminal charges against your father, right? I understand. And that you yourself could face legal consequences if you had knowledge of these activities. I didn't know anything until 2 weeks ago, but I do understand the risks. The lawyer nodded and began to review the documents. After 3 hours, he looked up. Mr. Miller, this is one of the most solid collections of evidence I've seen in my career. There's enough here to prosecute for fraud, extortion, bribery, and a dozen other crimes. How long will the process take? Depending on how your father reacts, we could have results in a few weeks. But first, I need to formally present this. Do it. James left the lawyer's office feeling strangely light. He had crossed the point of no return, and that gave him a sense of freedom he had never experienced. His phone rang. It was Sarah. How did it go? It's done. I presented all the evidence. How do you feel? Free. For the first time in my life, I feel free. Sarah smiled on the other end of the line. Where are you? Leaving the lawyer's office. Why? Because I think you need a coffee. I'll see you at our usual spot. When James arrived at the coffee shop, Sarah was already there waiting for him. She looked nervous. What's wrong? James asked as he sat down. Nothing. I'm just worried about you. About me? Yes, you just declared war on your own family. James laughed. You know what? For the first time, that doesn't scare me. Why not? Because I have something worth fighting for. Principles, dignity, and maybe a friend who understands me. Sarah felt herself blush. James, you don't have to say anything. I just want you to know that none of this would have been possible without you. You made the decisions, but you helped me see that they were the right decisions. At that moment, James's phone rang. It was his father. Are you going to answer? I have to. James answered the call. James, where are you? Arthur's voice sounded tense. In the city. Why? Because the police just arrived at the office. They say they have a complaint against me. And strangely, the evidence seems to come from documents in my own office. Dad. James took a deep breath. Yes, it was me. There was a long silence on the other end of the line. Why? Arthur asked. And for the first time, James heard pain in his voice, not just anger. Because it was wrong. Everything you did was wrong. Wrong? I built an empire. I gave you everything I have. You gave me money stained with blood. You're naive. That's how business works. Not all business, Dad, just yours. James, if you don't withdraw that complaint right now, you're out of the family. I'm already out of the family. From the moment I decided to do the right thing. The right thing? You just destroyed your own inheritance. No, I just saved my soul. Arthur hung up the phone. James stood staring at the screen, aware that he had just ended his relationship with his father forever. Are you okay? Sarah asked. Yes, better than ever. What's going to happen now? I don't know. But whatever it is, I'm going to face it. Do you have plans? I have some ideas. First, I need to sell my shares to compensate the families. Then, I need to find a job. What kind of job? Anything honest. Maybe I can start from the bottom at some restaurant. Sarah laughed. You working as a waiter? Why not? I have to learn the business for real, not just from an office. Are you serious? Completely serious. I want to learn to do things right. Sarah looked at him with admiration. You know what? I think my grandmother would have loved you. Really? Yes. She always said that people are measured by what they do when no one is watching them. And what do you think she would have said about this? That you're starting to see who you really are. James smiled. I hope you're right. You are. And James? Yes. I think your grandmother would also be proud of you. For the first time in weeks, James felt that perhaps the future could be better than the past. What a powerful moment of liberation. What will be the next steps for James and Sarah? Will their bond grow even stronger? Leave your comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Second Chances, a restaurant of hope. 3 weeks after the complaint, James was in his apartment packing his things when the doorbell rang. It was Sarah, but she looked different. More relaxed, less defensive. How are you? She asked, entering. Good, strangely good. Did you sell the shares? Yes, I signed the papers yesterday. The money is all ready in a special account to compensate the families. And your dad? He's in pretrial detention. The charges are serious. He'll probably spend several years in prison. Sarah was silent. She knew that no matter how much James hated what his father had done, he was still his father. How do you feel about that? Sad, but also relieved. For the first time in years, I can sleep peacefully. What are you going to do now? I got a job. Where? At a small restaurant. As a waiter? Sarah smiled. Seriously? Yes. The owner is an elderly man who knew my mother. When I explained the situation, he gave me a chance. What's the restaurant called? The Heart's Kitchen. It's a family place in the city center. I know that place. My mom and I used to go there when I was a kid. Really? What a coincidence. Or maybe it's not a coincidence, Sarah said with a mysterious smile. What do you mean? Nothing. Just that sometimes life has strange ways of connecting people. James looked at her with curiosity, but Sarah changed the subject. You know what? I think it's time you officially met my mom. Are you sure? After what my family did to her, she wants to meet you. I told her everything you did, and she says she wants to thank you in person. James grew nervous. What exactly did you tell her? That Arthur Miller's son turned out to be completely different from his father. And what else? That perhaps the mistakes of parents don't have to define their children. James felt a lump in his throat. When does she want to see me? Now, if you want. The walk to Sarah's house was silent. James was nervous, and Sarah seemed to be thinking about something important. Is there anything else I should know? James asked. Yes, my mom doesn't just want to thank you. She wants to propose something to you. What kind of proposal? You'll see. When they arrived at the house, Sarah's mother was waiting for them at the door. She was a small woman, but with a strong presence. James saw where Sarah got her determination. Mrs. Jenkins, James said, extending his hand. It's an honor to meet you. The honor is mine, James. Sarah has told me a lot about you. I hope good things. Very good things. Come in. We need to talk. The three sat in the small living room. Sarah's mother went straight to the point. James, I want you to know that I don't blame you for what your father did. But my family caused a lot of harm. Yes, he did. But you weren't responsible for that. And what you did afterwards shows what kind of man you are. James felt relieved. Thank you for understanding. Now, I want to propose something to you. Sarah told me you got a job as a waiter. Yes, ma'am. Do you like the idea of working in restaurants? Yes, I want to learn the business from the ground up. Perfect, because I have a proposal for you and for Sarah. James and Sarah looked at each other with curiosity. What kind of proposal, Mom? With the money James gave us as compensation, I want you two to open a restaurant together. Together? Sarah asked, surprised. Yes, you have the dream. James has the business knowledge, and I have the experience of having lost everything once. Together, we can make something special. James was speechless. Mrs. Jenkins, I can't accept that. That money is for you. James, that money is for justice, and the best justice would be to create something good with it. But, no buts. Sarah, what do you think? Sarah looked at James, then at her mother, and then back at James. I think it's an incredible idea. Really? James asked. Yes, we could create the kind of restaurant I always dreamed of. A place where people feel like family, like your grandmother's diner. Exactly like my grandmother's diner. James felt an emotion he had never experienced. For the first time in his life, he had a real purpose. Are you sure you want to do this with me? Completely sure, Sarah's mother replied. But with one condition. What? That you promise you'll always put people before profits. I promise. Then welcome to the family, James. James felt his eyes well up with tears. For the first time in his life, he belonged to something truly important. Thank you, he whispered. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. We're not giving it to you, Sarah said. You earned it. James looked at her and felt something he had never felt before. It wasn't just gratitude or friendship. It was something deeper, more real. What are we going to call the restaurant? He asked. I already have the perfect name, Sarah replied. Second Chances. James smiled. It was perfect. What a beautiful and heartwarming new beginning. What do you envision for Second Chances restaurant? And how will James and Sarah's relationship evolve? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe. A future built on Second Chances a year later, James was in the kitchen of Second Chances, preparing the last orders of the night. His hands, which had once only known the feel of documents and expensive pens, now bore calluses from hard work. Order ready for table 12, he shouted, passing the plates to Sarah, who had turned out to be an excellent manager. Thanks, chef, she replied with a playful smile. James had insisted on learning to cook from scratch, and after a year, he could finally prepare basic dishes without burning anything. The restaurant was full. It wasn't luxurious like the Miller Group places, but it had something those never did. Soul. The walls were decorated with photos of the families who had been compensated, and each table told a story of overcoming adversity. How are the accounts? James asked as he cleaned the griddle. Good. We're not rich, but we cover expenses and can pay decent wages to all employees. And your mom? Happy. She says she can finally sleep peacefully, knowing her daughter has a secure future. James smiled. Sarah's mother had turned out to be an excellent partner. Her experience with family finances and her knowledge of the community had been invaluable. Do you know what day it is today? Sarah asked as they closed the restaurant. Friday. No, silly. It's exactly 1 year since you filed the complaint against your dad. James paused. He had been so busy with the restaurant that he had lost track of the days. How do you feel? Sarah continued. Different. Completely different. Different how? A year ago I was rich, but I felt empty. Now I don't have much money, but I feel complete. Sarah walked closer to him. Do you regret it? Regret what? Doing the right thing? Losing everything you had? James looked her straight in the eyes. I didn't lose everything. I found something much more valuable. What did you find? I found you. Sarah felt her heart race. Over the year, they had worked together. They had faced problems together. They had built something together. But neither of them had openly spoken about what was happening between them. James, I know we started badly. I know my last name brings pain, but I also know these have been the best months of my life. Mine too, really? Yes, but what? But there are still difficult things. Your dad is still in prison. There are people who won't forgive you for your last name. The business is just starting. James nodded. I know. But do you know what I learned this year? What? That easy things aren't worth it. What's worth it always requires a fight. And you think I'm worth it? I think you're worth every fight in the world. Sarah moved closer to him. You know what my mom told me last week? What? That my grandmother would have loved to see you become the person you are now. And what do you think? I think my grandmother was right about many things, especially that it's never too late to start over. James took her hands. Sarah, I can't promise you it will be easy. There are still people who hate me for what my family did. There are still nights when I wake up thinking about all the lives my dad destroyed. And what do you do when that happens? I come here, I look at the photos on the walls, I see what we've built together, and I remember that I can choose to be different. And you choose to be different every day. But it's easier to choose to be better when you have someone who believes in you. I believe in you, James. Do you believe in us? Sarah smiled. Yes, I believe in us. They kissed for the first time in their restaurant kitchen, surrounded by the aroma of spices and the sound of the calming city. It was a kiss that tasted of second chances, hard work, and shared dreams. When they separated, James looked at her with a smile. You know what? What? I think your grandmother would have approved of this restaurant. Why? Because here, food is made with love, and here, people find family. Sarah laughed. Yes, I think she would have liked it very much. And what do you think she would have said about us? That some love stories start with problems, but the best ones end with solutions. James hugged her tightly. Then let our story begin. It already has, Sarah replied. Now we just have to keep writing it. Outside, the city continued its rhythm. But inside Second Chances, two people who had learned to transform pain into hope prepared to build a future together, one day at a time. What an incredible story of James and Sarah. A story that shows us it's never too late to change, that true love can be born even in the most difficult circumstances, and that second chances exist for those brave enough to take them. James left behind a life of privilege built on injustice to find something much more valuable, authentic love, and the inner peace that comes from doing the right thing. If this story moved you as much as it did us, don't forget to like it, share it with your friends and family, and comment on your favorite part. And if you want to keep enjoying more romantic stories full of drama, passion, and second chances like this, subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon so you don't miss any. Every story we share is full of real emotions, characters who fight for their dreams, and endings that will make you believe in true love. We want to get to know you better, so tell us in the comments, from what country are you watching us? Your support motivates us to keep bringing you these heartwarming stories.